Good morning from News Nation in Chicago. I'm Marni Hughes. Thank you, as always, for being with us. Right now, President Trump is in Saudi Arabia, part of a 4-day Middle East tour trip. This is a blend of high-stakes diplomacy, billion-dollar deals, and also some controversial power plays. Check this out. Air Force One, escorted by Saudi F-15 fighter jets on both sides of the president's plane as he arrived, also greeted with military fanfare by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The visit starting with a stop at a ceremonial hall for coffee. Then the talks also centered on U.S. efforts to confront Iran, calm the war in Gaza, and boost Gulf security. President Trump called them a friend and said that they have a good relationship, recalling his first visit in 2017. He even joked that Saudi investments could top $1 trillion.
Number one, I like visiting with you. We've known each other very well. I really believe we like each other a lot. And number two, it's the United States we've brought tremendous investment in. That's been like the stars, and we'll continue to service and this great country very well.
Also today, he will headline a Saudi-U.S. investment forum. This is a lavish event designed to showcase deals worth up to $1 trillion. And the focus, AI, energy, defense, and infrastructure, with both nations touting a century-long economic partnership. Saudi officials say that this forum marks a new era in financial cooperation. And here are some of the names that are going to be there. Worth noting, Elon Musk, along with some top executives from Amazon, BlackRock, Boeing, and Google. Joining us now, News Nation political contributor Lauren Wright, associate research scholar and lecturer in politics and public affairs at Princeton University. Good morning to you. This is his first overseas trip of the second term, and it's a big one when you look at what they're hoping to accomplish. Do we actually see major changes coming from this, or is it more optics in the region?
I hope so. I mean, the golden ticket, the chief objective would be, even though the administration is not directly communicating it, if Saudi Arabia could normalize relations with Israel, joining the Abraham Accords. Now, I don't know if that's completely off the table, as some recent reporting has suggested, or Trump's keeping it close to his vest, but it's encouraging that the Secretary of State is on this trip. Marco Rubio has immense knowledge of the region, and there is someone there to check him if this becomes strictly business interested or it's somehow going against the interests of the U.S. But I remain optimistic and hope that the administration's keeping some information to themselves.
How would you characterize, for folks at home, the relationship between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia and the King Prince and President Trump?
Well, they're very open to American presidents. There was a rift with Biden, and so it does vary president to president. Biden famously promised to call Saudi Arabia a pariah on the world stage. That got him a little bit of a snub, with MBS sending a lower ranked official to meet him in one instance. And so there is an extent to which you do want good relations with the region, and certainly the US's relationship with Israel ultimately depends on that. We want to strengthen the Abraham Accords. That is in our interest, both in the Middle East and for one of our closest allies, Israel. But if that does not come out of these sorts of relationships, if we don't get anything diplomatically, I think the questions about whether this enriches Trump's family, what the U.S. is getting out of this economically or diplomatically, are very fair. I understand why people are asking those questions.
The other stops that he'll make, we just had that on the screen, the UAE and Qatar. What is the significance of those two stops in this visit?
Well, Trump has said he wants to strengthen alliances with these regions or build up some sort of alliance. Qatar in particular has become chiefly responsible for a lot of the negotiations that happen in a very tense region. And of course, one of the other really, tangential but important goals of this trip is to put Iran on notice, because they don't want these countries to become closer with the US. They don't want these countries to further normalize relations with Israel. And so it is a show of strength in that regard. And I think that's extremely important.
Yeah, it sends a strong message to our adversaries. You've got Google and Amazon, some of the other big American companies there for this forum. In terms of investment, what kind of big deals might we see?
Well, there's some deals over AI brewing. Trump has said there's a lot of opportunities to create American jobs. Chips and technology are a big focus of these sorts of deals. And if he gets $1 trillion worth of deals for American businesses, that's a good thing. But again, I think what critics are looking at and what foreign policy analysts are looking at are, okay, do those deals lead to diplomatic goals for the US? Are we challenging these countries at all on human rights? And those are very open questions that I don't know the answer to, Marni.
The idea that President Trump may make an unscheduled stop in Turkey to weigh in and sit face to face with potentially Ukraine's President Zelensky and Russia's President Putin. We don't know if that's going to happen, but Trump said maybe on Thursday, if my schedule allows, I'll do that. How significant might that be in his goal to stop the war?
It would be extremely significant. Just the more FaceTime you can get with these leaders is important. And he had initially wanted, remember, to loop in a conversation with Putin on this trip. But that's also a big question mark. He's at least looking at this trip as an opportunity to fix multiple problems. And I won't criticize him for that. There's a lot of problems that he needs to fix. And so if this is a space where he can also check some other boxes on the Ukrainian Russian war, then he should.
These trips can result in great benefits diplomatically, long term, but they also carry some risks. What are some of the risks with this particular trip that we're seeing so far?
Well, I look at things from a public opinion standpoint. Sometimes that's good and sometimes it's bad. But, Americans are very aware of the fact that Trump's background is of a businessman, and they're very aware that his family has ties in this region and they have multiple deals on the table with a Saudi investment firm in the real estate sector, for instance. So those things bring questions to the American public. Is this enriching you and us, or you and not us? And those are certainly fair. And again, I think that's where the statesmanship comes in, and Trump must drive home the message that this is good for American workers. This is good for the safety and security of the world. And here's what we got done that aligns with American interests.
All right. Your perspective always greatly appreciated. Dr. Lauren Wright, thanks as always.
Thank you.